Hi everyone. Microphone on? Yeah, good. Okay. Keep me honest. If I'm in anyone's way on the TVs, I'll move out the way. So just keep me in the middle, and everything should be good. Quick question: did anyone join my session earlier over there for the Bullhorn platform? Just a caveat: lots of similarity. There's going to be some things that you've already heard. What we're doing is putting a twist on it in terms of the Salesforce ecosystem, the Bullhorn Recruitment Cloud platform. And there's going to be some big differences towards the end, so definitely stick around because you'll see some other things there. Who uses Recruitment Cloud today? There you go, Lauren. Loads of opportunity here. There's a salesperson in the back, so she could take note of everyone that's not using it today. Oh, that's fine. No way. Okay, quick intro. Matt's already done it, but I'm Ben Carter, Senior Director for Automation and AI at Bullhorn. My job basically is just to live on the front lines, talk to prospects, talk to customers, hear from everyone I can, and take all that feedback and just funnel it back to our product org just to make sure that we can build the best technology and software possible for our customers. I'm going to start with a challenge. I feel like this is the year where KPIs take a massive overhaul. Does anyone disagree with me? Got it right, that's good. Okay, we'll actually come back to that in a moment. Let's go through the presentation first, and then we'll come back and reference as to why this is going to be a big change. So, anyone that was in the earlier session with Jonathan from Salesforce, he probably alluded to there's different waves of AI that we're going through. We're definitely in the agentic wave now, but what really come before really paved the way. So if we go back to the first wave, it was all about insights, prediction. I normally say that's things in the early days like spam filtering in our mail systems, etc., being able to identify those kind of phishing stuff, all that kind of thing. Co-pilots and assistants, earliest waves of those are probably smart speakers, being able to have a conversation with a speaker, and wasn't really that smart. It was more just like static recipes that used to trigger in Alexa, and then it would go and do something. Agents is really where it gets interesting, because it's taking all of the technology that's come before it and being able to package it in a way so that we can now start to build full AI assistant automated workflows within the organization. So that's what I really focus on day in, day out. I've got 22 years experience in this industry, and I just try and bring all of that experience to make sure that we can kind of go and build every scenario for you so you can pick and choose which ones you're going to probably want to use as a business. The impact it's going to make is going to be quite surreal as well. So things like taking the generic engagement that probably goes out the door hundreds, if not thousands of times a day, and being able to make that hyper-personalized. It was very, very fast going out. Thinking about all the manual processes that everyone hates to do, the wasted time, the burning time that everyone kind of spends in those manual processes. We've actually had a saying at Bullhorn for a long time for our automation product, which is if you hate it, automate it. And I feel like AI is what really unlocks us to be able to do that in a much more grander scale as well. But I think one of the most important ones is just not being bogged down at the top of the funnel anymore, and just having everyone be able to work a lot closer to the money. And that's where you spend the majority of your time, which is where you really shine, because it's still always going to be a human-centric business. It's always going to be relationship-driven. So don't waste too much time at the top of the funnel, and really concentrate on just closing out those candidates and converting as much business as you can. So that's our kind of vision. Bullhorn AI is all about recruitment reimagined, and you probably saw a lot of references to that in Jeff's opening keynote this morning in the Vision for Innovation. But the real strategy behind it, we've really got three guiding principles. The first one is we want Bullhorn AI to be able to just embed into your existing and unlock you to create new workflows in your business for the first time. It's all about safely using AI without giving up your data. So Jeff was talking about how in the early days when generative first came along, you're kind of copying information out your system, you're pasting it into, say, ChatGPT, you're giving it a command, you hit go. Sam Altman's got your data for every morning, and there's nothing you can do about it. Probably not your data to start with if you really think about the reality of what's going in there. It's candidates' personal data that was going in. So it's really about just making sure that we can embed this as a workflow where you're not going to give up that data to anyone. You're not giving it up to us, you're not giving it up to your competition, and you're certainly not giving it up to any third parties that are out there as well. And then lastly, it's about being able to efficiently scale AI under your control across your business anywhere you need it to go as well. Two types we're focusing on. So the first one is assistants. So we do still believe that not everything is going to be 100% automated. So it's about how can you actually touch an assistant and get something point in time where you can go and use it elsewhere in the platform. And then the other side is the agents that we've developed. So you saw some of those alluded to in the vision. Anyone that was in my session earlier, you've seen some of the ones we've brought. We're going to talk about them again here, but there's also more we can do on the Salesforce platform if you did see the session earlier in this room. But I'm going to talk about Assistant first. Quick show of hands. Anyone recognize this? Still using it today? We also last year introduced what we call Copilot onto the then known as the Bullhorn for Salesforce platform, but the Recruitment Cloud. And anyone using it? Anyone turn it on? Not that heavily adopted. Okay. It's core. It's in the platform. So as you can see, it's kind of an assistant that lives with you. It's there. It's available to use as and when you need to. So this is our current version of the AI assistant. You can do things like pitch an email about a job, so you can generate content in order to hyper-personalize it so it can go out. It's also there on other objects as well. So it's not just about the candidate object that you're looking at, but think about job objects, etc., where you can also interact with this stuff. So that's the assistant. It's all about just being able to generative AI directly within the records. It's all about a secure way to scale and use personal data inside generative tasks. Predefined roles and tasks that are kind of there, think blueprints, so that buttons are there that are already industry standard, so you can just start clicking them and generate the content straight out the box. The one I love is it's going to turn new recruiters into your best recruiters very, very fast, because everyone's got an equal opportunity to be at a high standard when they're generating this content to get it out the door as well. The next one is search and match. So I'm going to just think about that time that Jeff was talking about this morning, how much time people spend in search, or how I'm going to position it, how much time people spend sitting staring at a search result and working their way through. I'm going to visualize it. That's over a third of anyone's day, week, or month is spent sifting through lists of names and job titles and CVs, etc. So we've known for a long time at Bullhorn that we needed to enhance and improve the search experience, and it had to happen inside the platform. Because searching off platform and not having it directly accessible within the platform is just a disconnected journey, right? So we've been really focusing hard on it, and we actually invested a hell of a lot of money in order to do this as well. So we acquired a company called SourceBreaker, a company called TextKernel, and a company called Kona Search. And our AI strategy is all going to take the best of any of these products, and we're going to bring all of this natively into the platform so we can embed search and match a lot deeper into the platform as well. So I'm going to start at the beginning of a journey. Let's just think about we're adding a job to the system. That's one way you get a job into the system. You may also have just received a notification that it's synced down from VMS Sync, and it's also in the system. And now, when we're viewing the job, we'll be able to see the best matching candidates. So I'll highlight it for you. So we can have like a match candidates card that's immediately in the job. So that means that normally people will put a job on the system, receive a job, they'll swivel chair to the other monitor, they'll go to linkedin.com or seek.com and they'll start searching. And all they're doing is they're spending your money time and time again just to acquire the same candidates already in the database. So this is really a database first mentality where it's more about just being served up immediately who your best matches are in a database before you even think about going external to start searching. And then after that, you can also hit the candidate match button as well. So it's not just about the ones that are being served up here. You may actually want to go to the whole list of results. This is just going to be a preview of your best matching candidates. Just in case you can't see it, it's just that little icon up there. But then that takes you to a full list of search results. So now what we've done is we've taken all the information from the job and we've auto-built that search. So what does that mean? That means that now not only have we just got a preview of a few people, 2 clicks of a button, we're now going through the entire database of matches that are there as well. All powered by the TextKernel taxonomy dictionaries as well. So that means that the acquisition that we've made, we've taken all of those taxonomies, we've actually merged them with the SourceBreaker ones as well to create a super group of synonyms, I guess is the best way to think about it. Did you know that on LinkedIn at any moment in time, there's tens of thousands of project mangas in the database that only have it spelt the incorrect way? They've cottoned on, they know how to hide from recruiters. So if you really want to find all these people and uncover alternative spellings, you need to think about other ways of searching for keywords as well. So over the last couple of years, every single person from the acquired companies, when you look at all the sales teams and who they've been speaking to, I've been asking them, what example Boolean searches have you received from your clients and your prospects when we're talking about search and match? This is about as average as it gets. So consistently, we normally receive something that looks like this as an example Boolean string that anyone in your business is running at any time in a search tool. What we do now is we unlock that, so we start to search for so much more. So if you think about training Boolean, not an easy thing to do. It's not really a skill set that has ever been trained at a school. So it's something net new that every recruiter has to learn. 90% of them never get it right. I see tons of mistakes as it comes through, as the examples come through as well. So just being able to unlock it and just actually expand on all your searches to find better candidates is going to be an easier way of doing it. And then when looking at the candidates, we can also do a reverse search. So in this case, what we're going to do is on that candidate record, we're going to find similar candidates instead. So not only have we now got best matching vacancies to a candidate like we had best matching candidates to a vacancy, we can now also go and build off your best candidate as well. So I've discovered somebody, they're not available. Again, before I go external, what other candidates have we got that are similar to the one that's there already? So that's AI search and match. Recommended candidates, search auto build, keyword expansion, followed searches, reverse searching, find more candidates like in the way you can do it. And you've also got the ability to do external sourcing. We're focusing really hard in growing out our external sourcing capability in the APAC region at the moment as well. There are some limitations with some of the big players that are out there, but we are focusing on improving that as well. Most importantly, the recruiters are driven to a database-first workflow. Let's talk about screening. Anyone excited about the screening agent that Nate was talking about this morning? Do you think you're going to use it as a business? I appreciate there's companies like Exec Search, for example, where it's probably not going to be your go-to in terms of workflows, but that's the whole point of agentic is some things you're going to include, some things you might not include in there. But for screening, it's all about the funnel. So just visualize this as the recruitment funnel. It's always wider at the top than it is at the bottom. Many, many candidates go into the top of the database. Very few ever turn into placements. So actually, in order to do more of the bottom, you need to spend less time wasting time at the top of the funnel. So for me, I really see that the value of this is being able to just eliminate that waste of time sifting through, speaking to candidates, you're not right, you're not right, you're not right, etc. And actually, we've had this for a long time, right? We've integrated job boards, etc., into these systems so that we can flow people straight through to the ATS. But a lot of people traffic light it. So you're still spending time there, even picking and choosing which ones should be right for the job. Not many people think about who should be right for the company because it's not about the candidate just coming through to the one job. That candidate could be perfect for another job that they don't know is in the business as well. So if you just let that floodgate open, that's the opportunity where agents can then really take over and start to control that process. Also, Jeff mentioned about candidates are also ready for AI as well. The talent grid survey that Jeff was speaking about this morning, I've actually looked at a couple of other stats from it. So the first one is 81% of candidates are comfortable using AI as long as it speeds up the process. They're willing to invest and actually start to utilize these technologies. And they're hoping that recruitment agencies will actually start to embed some of these technologies in here in the hope it speeds it up. The high volumes of candidates that you do see at the top of the funnel, they know that they're just a number in there. So they want to really speed up the process and get through it as quickly as possible. The second one is 63% of candidates that are working with AI say they receive faster responses when they know AI is in there. And that's probably because a lot of candidates fall into black holes, where it takes a long time for people to get back to them. So knowing that they have these systems that can actually analyze their fit, can actually drive them through the process means that at least they get the response quicker, so they can move on to the next search if they need to as well. There's also another stat. We've actually had customers using the screening agent for the last 6 months. And all of those customers committed that every time they put a candidate through the screen, they also requested feedback at the end of the process. So we've just collated all that data, and 82% actually reported a really high response rate in terms of they enjoyed actually going through a screening agent. A couple of other metrics came out of it as well. The agencies that were testing it, we also asked them that the ones that did make it to placement to actually look at that CV versus the other applicants and be honest, would they have actually called that candidate just on the surface level of that CV? And a lot of times they said they wouldn't. So the screening agent is actually giving the candidate more opportunity to shine than just the surface level scan that you do on CVs as well. So it's a really interesting metric that I just thought I'd share. So we're back in the job. So we're just going to pick back up in the workflow. Every job that's added can now get screening questions automatically assigned against the record. And it will look like this. So there's a screening questions tab, and then at which point you've got them in there. You can go in, you can edit them, you can add your own, you can delete any you don't want, but automation will be the baseline and the best practice to actually create screening questions that are unique for each of these as we go. And then when we think about it, there's two common ways that someone will enter your database, or actually enter the workflow, the ATS workflow. The first one is you're going to find them on Bullhorn. You've now got matching candidates, right? So they're going to be surfaced to you straight away. So in this case, I may just be on the phone to a candidate. I'm chatting away as we go. And then when we're happy, we drop them into the shortlist, into the ATS, and then I can just invite them, as simple as that. Change the status of them, move them on to the next step. That triggers off the process, and now the candidate can receive some communication about it. The next one is they apply into the top of the funnel. So then they're probably entering your database for the first time. So in this case, whether they're applying on your job board, whether they're applying on a job board, doesn't really matter. As long as you open that gate and let them into the system, well, now we can start to track all of these people, and automation can now improve the candidate experience. So that black hole theory goes away. We can say, we have your application. The next step is, are you happy to take a screen with one of our AI agents? And then at which point they can pick and choose the right time for them to do it. Maybe in the evening, maybe at the weekend, the time when a recruiter's in the pub or away for the weekend or whatever it is they're doing, they can actually engage and take this action when they're ready. So they'll hit the website, they'll get presented with the agent, it'll start talking to them, and it's your opportunity to take high-level knockout questions. And what do we mean by that? These are the closed questions. These are the questions that probably don't get asked, but should get asked to every applicant. Maybe it's not part of the application process, so you have to cover them off here before you move on. So it's things like, are you eligible to work in the country? Can you work 40 hours a week? Do you live within commutable distance, or are you willing to relocate? Whatever the scenario is, those closed-ended questions, just let the system just knock them out as they go. Because if they're not eligible to work in Oz, for example, or they can't work 40 hours a week, you can take them down a different journey before they even hit the screening agent. So they don't have to go all the way through the process unless they absolutely need to. But if they do, they click the button, they go to the screening agent, and they start to take the conversation. I don't have the video like Nate did this morning, but I loved how he Googled the answer to that first one, because there's no way he knew that much. But he'll have the conversation, right? And they'll go through the process. And then afterwards, they'll get an outcome. So they'll immediately be able to be able to get a response and follow up. And that's all based on the screening score. I'll show you in a second. And that screening score is going to determine, does someone proceed or does someone not proceed? And that score is entirely up to you. Whichever scenario or threshold you want to put in there, you can. Maybe if it's over 85 as a score or over 80 as a score, they get green lit and they go on to the next step. Maybe if it's between 80 and 50, they're more amber. Maybe we take them on a different journey. If they're red, maybe we just auto-reject them and just dump them out the database. Whatever it is you need to do, you control the flow to be able to get there. But because they scored highly, they now get to follow up, book time in the diary, and then they can pick a time that suits them again to chat to the recruiter. So we're back, we're speaking to the person now, we're on the phone, we're working our way through, but now we've got all the relevant information about the screening that actually already took place. So not only did we get the outcome, we store it back against a note in the record as well. So what have we got? We've got a summary. So that's the high-level summary about the entire conversation that's happened with the candidate, so you can really understand and digest what the outcome is that's there. You also get an overall score, and that overall score also flows back to a field in the submission, which means that you can also do things like trigger off of it, but you can also visualize it in lists as well to see all your high-scoring candidates in one place. You'll also get an analysis based on all of the information that's been taken about the candidate. So it's like a summary about the candidate where you just know a little bit more as an overall. And then you also get suggested areas to focus on. So that's going to be more like when you are having a conversation with the candidate, include this in your conversation, because this is probably what you're going to want to qualify a little bit deeper. And then lastly, you can get the full transcript. So you'll be able to see verbatim what's been said on both sides as well. And the screening agent's not just trained to ask the first question, then ask the second question, then ask the third question. If the candidate doesn't provide enough information, it's been trained to dig deeper. So it'll reword the question another way. It'll try and ask it in another way. It'll say, is there anything else you want to talk about for this or for that? We was actually showing a customer the other day, and rather than actually answering the question, I asked it a question. And it responded and said, that's great, we'll get to your questions in a moment, but let's go back to the first question. So it's designed to get the candidate through the process to the point where at the end, you can then open it up to other questions and expose the right data to give the candidate more information as well. So instead of you speaking to 10 candidates, going through 10 candidates, and you got, what, 5 of them that were unqualified, but it's burn time in your diary to be able to discover that, another 3 that are possible at this stage, and then maybe 2 that are good for the job, and that converts to 1 placement, that funnel that's there kind of thing, you can now just think of it more like a hose pipe. They all go in the top, they all get qualified. By the time you speak to them, it's now a straight funnel where you've actually got 10 strong candidates. You may potentially be able to get more placements out of them. Maybe you presenting 10 or 5 strong candidates to your client, they take on more than 1, even though they only said they had 1 opening as well. There's so much more opportunity when it comes to that. And then also for all the silver medalists that are out there, well, you can now start to compile talent pools of high-scoring candidates. So that could be all the ones that for some reason didn't get through. Great, you've now got all the best content in the world to go and sell to your market, because you've got all these candidates you can go spec out for that as well. But not only that, you can now also build out your talent pools that you know exactly where to go to if you get similar jobs in the future again. And then you can think about your marketing campaigns over these people, think about all the opportunity you've got to just be able to only speak to high-scoring candidates in the future as well. So that's Screening Agent. It's all about the intelligent question generation. Not everyone's going to go through the Screening Agent, but don't forget, even if you're manually speaking to somebody, you've got the questions there, so you can still use them as a script, even if you're going to humanly speak to somebody. You've got great candidate fit analysis, so the outcome and the reporting of everything that's there. A job description comparison, being able to see the job description and see the comparison of what you get for the candidate. All about the top of the funnel automation. It's all about removing that and driving everyone closer to the money. And then the enhanced candidate experience impact alone is going to be a huge improvement for everybody. Most importantly, the recruiters are focusing on the right candidates all the time as well. But it's all about agents. It's not about clicking things manually and looking at the system manually, etc. So that's the 3 infused agents that I spoke about. The term agentic, let's go through the workflow that Jeff showed this morning. So enrichment, well, what can we do to enrich information? Whether it's a VMS job coming in, candidate coming in, a job that you've manually added, however, whatever it is kind of going on there. Well, this is what a typical VMS job looks like. Normally get that from the client, right? They release it down to the suppliers, etc., but there's not much information in there. You're lucky if it comes through as a note on the VMS, like a day later, for example. Well, we can get ahead of that curve because we know the job title and we know the client. So why don't we just go and just have generative AI go and improve it through automation? So we can do things like that. What's that going to do? Now we've got an improved job description, it's also going to improve our matching capability, right? Because now we've got data to match against, we can now go and start to find candidates. Well, rather than you going and looking at the job in order to do it, why don't you just have automation auto-match people? To just trigger that match step. Grab that 10 people that you saw in the preview card and start to be able to drive automation through them as well. So then we can then think about messaging and the hyper-personalized outreach that we can do there as well. So now we've got this job match alert. Well, now we can templatize this and start to get it out to people. So that will look something like this. Hey, you signed up and part of your preferences was you wanted job alerts. Just like e-commerce, if I abandon something in my basket, it's going to remind me, but it's also going to tell me other things I might like as well. So that experience can come to everybody where you can just feed the right jobs to the right people at the right time. And then lastly, the screening agent. Well, we've seen how it all kind of processes, but you can deliver it from text message. So maybe after they kind of engage, you can follow up with a text message with a link. It could be an email that goes out. All the scenarios are different ways to drive people to that screening agent is already there. The important thing is you're prioritizing on relationships and the high value work. That's the goal of agents. That's our goal of agents. Is all about driving people that way, and then you can pick and choose how much automation drives them there as well. So that's the 3. Oh, wrong button. That's the 3 agents, but this is the Salesforce track, and what you probably saw Jonathan from Salesforce talking about was AgentForce. So how can we wrap all this up natively in the platform even further? I'm going to show you an example of an agent that we've built. It's actually out there. It's up on the agent exchange already. But I'm going to take through an example, and then we've got some great people that will be taking us through the roadmap later on. We'll be able to see the vision of even further where that's going to go as well. So I'm on my dashboard. I've got this new agentic next action card. So the AgentForce is now driving me towards the next best practice. All configurable. You can drive it. You can drive any kind of information here. I know it's bright behind you, and you're probably getting reflections. It's telling me what next action to take. So that's a job in the system. And what it's telling me is I've got a high probability of closing. Why? Similar positions have closed in the last 3 days. I've got suitable candidates found in the system. All these agents are running in the background, right? So it's got the information. And the job score is really high. So think about indexing the value of a job and how placeable it is, et cetera, that's there. And it's also telling me the required skills for that job that are there already. And then it's also giving me some suggested candidates. So even when you hit your dashboard, when you log in, AgentForce can drive you towards that most important action as the next action that takes place. Then when we're in a record, you've now got the AgentForce slide out. So the best way to think about this is human automation. Not all automation has to happen 100% of the time in the background. Maybe sometimes a user wants to invoke automation to happen in the platform instead. So what am I going to do? I'm going to read this out because I appreciate it's quite hard to read it. Hi, Einstein, can you provide me with an update on this job? What actions have been performed by the agent? It's going to do it, it's going to work away, it's going to think, and then it's going to give me an outcome. Real-time chat engagement is happening with the system. Here's an update on the job and the actions performed by the agent. Upon conducting an auto-match investigation by text kernel, 5 candidates have been identified, and it's listed those 5 candidates. That's actually the same 5 candidates that was on the match card earlier. But maybe I want to take further action than just knowing who the 5 are. And then it's telling me the job priority, and then it's asking me what I want to do with it. So now I'm going to say something like, that's great. Based on the information, can you suggest what next actions I should take? So you don't have to give it a command. Maybe you can ask it what to do next, because it's got all the information sitting behind it. So now what it's saying is, move these 4 candidates or these 5 candidates to the screening stage, but the probability of placement is higher when you've got additional candidates in the funnel as well. So I'm going to expand the shortlist and auto shortlist 2 other or 3 other people as well. Would you like me to perform this task for you? So I'm just going to say, yes, please. And then before you know it, it's generated new applications. It's actually composed the email messages to go out to the candidate for the screening as well. And now we've got an updated ATS. Everyone's moved to the next step. New people have entered the funnel at the top from a shortlist perspective as well. So that's one example. We've already publicly listed one of these on here. This is going to come thick and fast. Lauren, who's in the room, is going to take us through a long list of the ones that we're planning on doing as well. You got the exciting part. So yeah, that's recruitment agents on AgentForce as well. It's not just about the native capability of what Salesforce can do through AgentForce. It's about tying in the recruitment-centric workflows, but also the recruitment-centric technology as well to be able to do things like uncovering the highest scoring candidates, taking those actions, understanding the concept of what a shortlist and a screening step is, et cetera, as well, triggering off the screening step as we go at the same time. So let's go back to that question. What happens to KPIs in an agentic world? It's a small room. Does someone want to shout something out? Say again?
They get met.
Yeah, they do. Everything increases, right? All the actions increase exponentially because now the system's going to do it for everybody. Time to do it goes down as well. So what actually is a KPI in 2025? Do they have to be reimagined? I think they do. The main reason for that is if you think of Parkinson's law, that states that if I have 4 hours to complete a task or I have 8 hours to complete a task, I'm going to naturally fill that task in 8 hours. I'm going to spread it out for the amount of time I've got. And so much time is going to be saved when it comes to agents now that I think we need to redefine what KPIs and metrics actually, and expectations actually are in this kind of new world. So don't think necessarily about stats. Just giving someone X number of BD calls, giving someone X number of interviews booked, etc. That the system's going to do all that for us. That's not a concern anymore. So what do? We think about actionable insights instead. So the value is companies placed previously, no activity recently. But if you placed with a company recently, you've probably got signed terms. And if you don't have activity on that company or any of those contacts, that's your low-hanging fruit, how you can go win new business, whether that be speccing CVs, picking up jobs, etc. That metric should be 0. that target should be 0. And that's where they should be focusing, is what generates the money. Let's think about interviews booked. Well, candidates with interviews, that's great. But we all know that a candidate with 3 interviews at 3 different jobs, that's 40% higher chance of placement than not. So you should be thinking about where else you can also pitch these candidates out to that are high scoring at the same time. And then the third one, by the way, that should also be 0 as a target. And then the third one, upcoming finishers with no engagement. And that's what? Calls, extensions, submissions, interviews, screens, responses to emails, etc. It could all be there. So it's not about just redeployment percentage. Anyone actually know the redeployment percentage if you're in that market? No one's really focused on it. But just thinking about this in this way rather than just percentage means you'll just naturally start to redeploy your candidates and your workers a lot faster as well. So we opened this morning with this statement: more placements, more profit, same team. That's our goal, is to unlock you to be able to grow your organizations without having to add heads. I actually think it's quite counterintuitive because that means we sell less software, but the reality is it means that this whole industry is going to be so much faster paced. You'll be able to do so much more that your success will ultimately be our success anyway. And with that, I'm going to say thank you, and I'm going to talk about the next session coming up quickly. So right now, we're going to go back to the expo hall for a tea. If you're not thirsty, you can hang around there because there's another session straight after that, which is going to be the Recruitment Cloud Roadmap. But with that, I'm going to say thank you. Good.